Well, hey, welcome to the Thrive Collective. We're so excited for today. Entrepreneurs, business leaders, and friends, this is your show designed to help you make more money, avoid costly mistakes, and fully integrate your faith into your life and your leadership. I am Rob Hughes, your host, and it's an honor to be with you today. I'm especially thankful and excited today because I've got a couple of friends that are going to be joining us today. Ben Weaver and Jackie Martin, StoryBrand Certified Guides, are going to be sharing some ideas, tips, strategies, things that are just working in the digital era that we all find ourselves in today. And really, really excited to do that. So we're going to get to their ideas in just a moment here. But as we open, and I just want to kind of guide us in a little piece of scripture that really stood out to me. Take a look, if you're listening to this podcast, at Joshua chapter 1. It's kind of interesting. I'm going to read it. It says, after the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant. He said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore, here it is, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan River into the land that I'm giving them. I promise you what I promised Moses. Wherever you set foot, you will be on land that I have given you, from the Negev wilderness into the south of Lebanon mountains, and the north from the Euphrates River, east of the Mediterranean Sea, and the west, including land of the Hittites. So all of this land, if you set foot on it, it's the land I'm giving you. No one will be able to stand against you as long as you live, for this is the Lord's voice. I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not fail you or abandon you. So be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors. Be strong and very courageous, says the Lord. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate from them, turning either to the left or to the right. Then, here it is, you will be successful in everything you do. Study this book of instruction continuously. Meditate on it day and night, so that you will be sure to obey everything that's written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all that you do. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. I don't know about you, entrepreneurs, leaders, business owners, but as I read that, I feel emboldened. See, Joshua inherited a calling, a why. It was the same why that Moses had and stewarded as he led his people through, the Israelites, as he led the Israelites out of Egypt. It was the same why. But now the game had changed for Joshua. The game had changed for the Israelites. Moses, to be honest, he made some errors. He took his staff, he struck a rock, he kind of wielded the power outside of the will of God, and at the end of the day, he did not end up bringing the football in for the touchdown, if you will. He did not end up bringing the Israelites into the promised land before he died. So the game had changed, but here's the deal. It was the same why, but it was now on Joshua to steward that with a new how. Same why, new how. And for those of you that are Simon Sinek fans or Don Miller fans, you understand the idea of the why, really the mission. As you have now for 3-4 weeks, several of you have endured this COVID-19 season, the sporadic changes, and every other day it seems like something new on the news media is popping up and just changing the how on us, isn't it? But it's the same why. Leaders, this passage is for you. You are Joshua. Your staff depend on you. Your clients depend on you to do what? To maintain that why, to pursue the why. And if scripture is accurate in this, if we really are that Joshua, we can be strong and courageous even when the how gets switched on us, gets changed on us. We can be strong and courageous. And what I love about this passage in Joshua 1 is that it lands on this place here of saying, Then you will be successful in everything you do. Study the book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night, so you will be sure to obey everything that's written in it. Only then, says the word, this is Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. Only then you will prosper and succeed in all that you do. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. I think there's something to be said about this. You know, educational psychologists, research, they call it the law of exposure and the law of cognition. The law of exposure says whatever we expose our eyes to and our minds to, we think about. Law of exposure. If you see it, you think about it. Law of cognition says whatever you think about, you become. Law of exposure, what we expose ourselves to. Law of cognition, we become. So if those are true, if we pull the highlight reel of your last 24 hours up, what have you been exposing yourself to? Is it the book of instruction? Is it the truth of God's word? Is it fun? Is it encouraging? Or are we putting the sail of our mind up to the winds of the media to just be blown around wherever it would take us? Joshua 1 says, meditate on it. God's word is the source of truth and hope that cannot be taken from us no matter what circumstance or how is shaken. Business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs, you are to lead your troop, your Israelites, to the promised land. It's to the other end of this COVID-19 crisis. And to embolden your leadership, now more than ever before perhaps, it is increasingly important, imperative, that you fill your mind with the truth of God's word. There will come a day where we all stand in the judgment seat in the throne room of God, and he will look down and he'll say, what did you do, Joe, Sam, Jill? What did you do with the COVID-19 season that I called you to lead through? How did you steward that opportunity? Don't fall into the trap of the oh, woe is me crowd. Yes, things are terrible. And you know what? I've had some personal friends that have contracted COVID-19, very inner circle people. It's devastating. It's terrifying. But that is not our future. Our future is filled with the hope of Christ. Our future is filled with the mission that God has sent us on. Again, same why. As a business leader, you absolutely must be thinking about a new how, a different how. And so today, we're going to be talking a little bit about that. And I'm not quite sure that Jackie or Ben know really what they signed up for when they said yes to Crazy Rob Hughes inviting some friends in to talk. But listeners, you need to hear me. Nothing, no COVID-19, no economic downturn, no recession, nothing can change the fact that you are God's beloved adopted son or daughter. Your identity, your validation, your worth transcends any market data. Some of you are dealing with layoffs and closures right now. Some of you are dealing with sleepless nights, stressing. I want you to know it does not define you. In fact, your identity can only be defined by the one who created you. You are not the potter, you are the clay. So who you become is not your call. It's your obedience. You need to receive and obey that calling. It is not, your circumstances don't define you. Walk with Christ, the infallible source of truth. Find the hope and freedom that comes from that walk and live boldly in that. Today is going to be an interesting day on the Thrive Collective. We have 3 StoryBrand certified people on the call, And we're going to talk through some ideas to pivot, to change the how. So again, same why. We got to grow your business. We want to see the name of Jesus lifted up by helping you, small business owner. We want to help you accelerate growth. That's the mission. How we accomplish that in a season where the handshake society is kind of put to a halt might look a little bit different. So we're going to explore some ideas and strategies here that can help you. And our hope is that you'll take this conversation, think of it as like a 3-person mastermind here. We're going to chop up some ideas and kind of go back and forth a little bit, spend a couple minutes talking through different thoughts, ideas, strategies. But our hope is that you will extract the principles from this conversation and that you'll live boldly as you apply these to help your business thrive on the back end of this, and even in the midst of it, for that matter. So I've got a good friend, Jackie Martin. Jackie and I were certified through StoryBrand as well as Ben Weaver. Jackie works with healthcare, e-commerce, oil, gas, pharmaceutical companies to create a customer-first digital experience. She helps marketing leaders identify the ideal vision, create actionable roadmaps, and pick the best technology solutions to confidently meet their business's goals. She lives with her husband, Cody. They have 2 amazing kids in North Texas. I love Texas and I love barbecue. So anyhow, it's really great to have Jackie on the call. And then also Ben Weaver is the founder and CEO. Ben Weaver, founder and CEO of Bigger Story. It's a consulting firm that helps business leaders bring clarity to their brand message, their mission, their marketing, and really produce results that build thriving companies. He's got over 15 years of experience as a speaker, author, leader, and passionate about helping people and businesses tell a bigger story that could help others as well. So it's great to have both Ben and Jackie. I'm going to let you guys unmute here. I'll go ahead if, let's see, I'm going to try, there you go. Yep. So let's start with you, Jackie. Admittedly, you had an idea or two that you kind of chatted to me as we were talking through today's session. Just love to hear from you. What sort of things are you seeing from your client engagements, and what ideas are you seeing that's working as we're pivoting our message for businesses these days?
Yeah, I am. It's really interesting. I had a usability research project that was scheduled to take place the last week of March. That was a very last minute rescheduled to be online. And I had this opportunity over 2 weeks to work with a client of mine and do remote testing, which of course is fun because these are 65-plus-year-old folks that we were doing usability tests for. So getting them to go online for the first time and do screen sharing and get their user feedback. It was an adventure. But what I came out and chatting with them about is here you have folks that are doing things that they never would have done before. If you had told them 3 months ago that they would be doing, sharing their screen and ordering their groceries online and all of these things, they would not have done it. They would not have engaged. And so we're seeing this huge shift in consumer behavior. And I really see it as in the last 3 months, we have jumped probably 5 years in consumer behavior. We've just fast forwarded and just pushed everyone through this funnel that a lot of folks weren't necessarily on board with. So we are, as businesses, having to pivot those 5 years also to match those new consumer expectations. And I think that is a shift that's hard. It's hard for the consumer. It's hard for the business. And so as we're working through this, where we actually were in the middle of the tornado, we don't know what the destruction looks like on the other end. And so I think it's a very tough place to be in for businesses. But the biggest thing that I'm seeing done well is that redefinition of who is my customer, what are they looking for from me, and how can I meet their needs with this now new normal for us today. So that to me is the biggest thing, is that companies that are saying, okay, how can I adjust to where the consumer is, those are going to be the ones that are going to be able to shift as the market shifts. Right. And so we have to be listening to our customers. We have to be updating our customer profiles. We have to be meeting our customers where they are, not wanting to go back after the storm is over to where we used to be, because that's not going to happen. We've shifted them through this 5-year funnel so quickly, and it's affected every single age demographic, from a kindergartner to somebody who's elderly. So it's changed. It's changed. We're here.
Completely agree, and I'd love to get your feedback on this as well, Ben. It seems like there's this imperative shift, as Jackie is talking about businesses who are traditionally this brick and mortar type strategy. Instantly, click and order has to be part of their ecosystem, from brick to click. It's a forced transition, and for companies to really survive in the midst of this, they have to be thinking this way. So Ben, I'd be very curious to kind of hear your feedback and thoughts in response to Jackie as well.
Yeah, well, first, Rob, thank you so much for this opportunity just to come and join with you guys. And Jackie, thank you for those introductory thoughts. I really appreciate it. I value both of y'all's wisdom and thoughts. And so it's just an honor to be here with you. But the conversation I've been having with my clients, I kept thinking about one in particular, both as you were talking, Jackie, even before our conversation today, Rob, was just this idea of really short story of who they are. They provide custom bread for grocery stores, retailers, C-stores, all sorts of folks, multi-million-dollar company. And they're having to make some pivots. They've had to lay off some folks, just do some interesting things. But one of the things we kept coming back to with them has been this idea of what makes them so special in the market is their ability to customize for people. But I'm having them nail down even further right now is this, we talk about in StoryBrand, making a plan very clear for our customers. But I think even more than ever, people are looking for the most simple way to do business with people humanly possible and what that looks like. So we're talking about a customized bread company that makes hundreds of breads, can make hundreds of breads for you, whatever you're looking for. But what's that look like in an environment right now? Very simple. So they are brick and mortar. They have a couple of cafes, but how can we get their customers, their current audience, to interact with them in a simple way that provides what they need? And the question I lead with right now with my clients is, what's the win for your customer? If you can define that right now, how can you get there faster? And so that's been the conversations I'm having with people just in calls like this, in meetings. It's just been a huge part of making things even simpler, which sounds crazy for us as guides because we're all about simplicity and clarity, but how can we get there faster?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Custom breads. So I'm sure many of the listeners are thinking, what does a custom bread look like? Does that mean like it's like in the shape of, like if it's my wife's birthday, I make a loaf of bread in the shape of her head? Wait, that would be kind of crazy. That would be like Roman culture, the head on a platter. My head might be on a platter for even suggesting that. Well, what is a custom bread? You got my curiosity piqued in that, Ben.
No, that's great. So if you have a restaurant, locally who has got a new sandwich that their chef has created, but they're trying to figure out what's the best bread to put on, they enter into conversations with them and say, what's the bread that we can provide for this sandwich? And they give them multiple options, different sizes, different tastes, all different sorts of things that help satisfy what their chef is looking for.
Okay, like pairings, like a pairing of bread to the actual sandwich itself. So, wow. And that could be something that's unique to that sandwich that no other restaurant or other cafe could sell because it's so customized for them.
Exactly.
Isn't that interesting?
Yep.
Wow.
It's interesting because, like, as we talk about some of these examples, I'm seeing I have a strategy company. That's what I do. And so, like, one of the things that I'm really like forcing my clients to think through is a right now strategy and a post pandemic strategy, because you need both, because you're not going to be who you were before. So this bread company is a great example. So post pandemic, it could look different than before, but what is their what is their strategy right now? And I think it's important to kind of think through these things as short-term, long-term, and being able to feel comfortable knowing that I don't necessarily know what I'm going to look like long-term, and that's okay. And I think that speaks to the fear. We don't want to be reacting to this in a fear way, but we can pivot in the short term and put together a short-term strategy. Like, maybe they would offer, delivery locally or sell in bulk to customers that are having a hard time getting flour and yeast. And maybe they are thinking of these different ways to create cash, just cash flow for them and keep a core group of employees coming to work every day. And so these short-term strategies are very important as we look at how can we meet a consumer's needs today. But then as, yesterday, from when this is recorded, the government has started to announce plans to open back up. So it's like, as we go through all these phases, how does our strategy need to change, and how do we continue to pivot as business leaders to where we are open to the idea of kind of venturing out into the unknown, unsure of what that looks like, but leading the charge.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, what's interesting about their strategy, and again, not to dive too deep in what they did, but they had some immediate wins they were able to capitalize on. So you and I, we all know that you go to a grocery store, especially the first couple of weeks, you go to the bread section, ready for you, and it was empty, right? Like, couldn't find a loaf of bread to save your life. And so they went in and they went to the local groceries that they already have partnerships with and said, hey, your bread shelves are empty. That's typically not the bread that we provide. We provide, fresh, frozen or ready to bake types of breads for, custom artisan breads for you. But could we provide those breads that those larger companies can't seem to get bread to you fast enough? How can we help you there? And it was really cool to watch them pivot into that area right away to get some quick wins for their company.
Yeah.
So think through this, listeners, as you're listening to this podcast. What are the today? I love Jackie's idea here. What's the today strategy? What's the tomorrow strategy? Different regions of the country are going to be unlocked at different times. It sounds like it's be based on the governors kind of individually deciding, or their governments deciding stateside when to unlock and restore. So some of us might be dealing with this digital only culture for some time. So what is the today strategy for that? What's the pivot? What is the client? I love the ideas here that my fellow guides are suggesting. What does the end user, the client, actually want? What do they actually need and want today? The answer of that might be different during this pandemic than it was before or will be after. And how can you position yourself to be the guide to them getting what they want? That's ultimately the power of the story brand message. So I think
one of the easiest things to do, and I give this advice to so many of my clients, which is like, how do I figure that out? And I think the answer really is a single page document. If you just open up a Word document and you're like, okay, we have, I run a high-end kids boutique store. So I'm almost 100% brick and mortar. What am I going to do? And so we can sit down and say, what are the challenges that this mom is facing? And we had a local company to pivot so well, so quickly, which is, for me, I'm like, crap, I have to get my kids an Easter bunny gift. Like, this is 2 weeks ago. What am I going to do? So like, I go online to the big box retailers, and a lot of them are seeing, you're seeing a ton of delayed shipping. And so this local kids boutique was able to essentially, there was, we're going to give you $100 worth of Easter items, depending on your kid's gender and age. We're going to sell it to you at cost, because we have to move this merchandise. It's a cash flow issue for them. But you get all your Easter stuff turnkey. Either you can pick it up, or we'll deliver it to you if you're local. Free shipping otherwise. And then for us, we are able to get rid of all of this Easter merchandise we ordered back in January. And so we're going to get all that cash flow. But now we're going to be filling that immediate need. And so if you sit down and like write out, okay, here is a mom, we're coming on, we had the Easter holiday. These are the things that she's concerned about. All of a sudden, you can see how, again, a short-term sales strategy, you would never do this under normal circumstances, but a short-term sales strategy, you're meeting the needs of your customers. And you can do this. I have a client who's in automotive engineering services. So their sales team can't go in. They just cannot go in. So they had to look to see, well, how can we offer manufacturing emergency repair services short term? And they cut rates, which was allowing them to get into clients, still offer a service that they needed, but it allowed them to now build relationships with potential new clients, because they're meeting this kind of emergency need for them. And so I think there's like a ton of opportunity just by sitting down and saying, okay, who is this person? What are they needing right now?
Yeah. In the business to consumer kind of setup, when we're dealing with the public and selling bread or selling clothing items or Easter bunny baskets and so on, these are brilliant strategies. But you got me curious now, Jackie. The engineering company, that's more of a business to business type setup here. So maybe we could just kind of chop up for a bit on the theme of business to business.
Yeah.
What does that look like in the midst of this COVID-19, this digital only economy that we're in? Any ideas that you guys have or thoughts that you've worked with clients on? I've got a couple, but I'm just curious to hear kind of from you as well. So thoughts,
Yes.
Ben? Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that I call it a strategy that I've been working with my clients on, and part of this is just part of my personality. So when I recommend these services, this is something I'm doing myself that I just think is so valuable and is really helpful, is really leveraging video during this time and what that looks like. So I've had a couple clients that I've got up and running on using video tools, not just Zoom, but other things that help provide that personal touch that those business B2B customers actually need. So when you reach out to someone, you call them by name, you address their company, you talk to them about, hey, I hope everyone's okay. I hope your family's doing all right. You address with empathy, right? And so that person right away noticed that you took 2, 3, 4 minutes, whatever that video ends up being. That personal touch has been really helpful, not necessarily to make a sale, but to keep top of mind. And one of my clients in particular that we've implemented some of these tools with right away, they're seeing an astronomical shift in engagement with them. Before this, they had said, Ben, people just stopped opening our emails, and automatically they send a video to 15, 20 different clients, and they've got 100% engagement. And it's not, again, their goal is not to make a sale, but their goal is to stay top of mind. So that to me has just been huge in helping people say it's been huge for a while. Most people haven't gravitated towards it. So I've been coaching my clients, the people I work with, how do you leverage that in your business? And maybe you guys can push back on this. I don't know if there is not a B2B business that couldn't use video to help really support how to serve their clients really well during this time.
I 100% agree with that. Certainly, I'm sure Jackie's got a perspective as well. I like to think sometimes if I'm doing trainings and teaching seminars, I'll kind of draw like two fundraiser thermometers. So can you kind of picture those red thermometers that fill from 0 to 100, right? The first we're going to label risk. The second we're going to label relationship. And in business to business, if you were to come in as a cold call on a business and ask somebody to spend money with you, where is that on the risk scale? Well, it's probably at the very, very top. Why? Because they don't know you yet. You're really low on the relationship thermometer. But as we grow in relationship, in trust, and rapport, now it becomes a natural progression to do business with you. So an example of this is if you have no relationship for somebody, you should not ask them to spend $200,000 on a new contract with you. But also, where did you go build that relationship in the past? At an expo, at an event, at a seminar? Well, those don't exist today. So you got to be thinking with agility here. How do you build relationship development strategies to mitigate the risk of engaging your company? What does that look like online? I love Ben's idea of video, because here's the deal. We need to create what handshakes built for us in the past. We need to bring as much human element of that into the digital world as possible. And anybody could write an email, and that's kind of two-dimensional. But a video email, there's I think BombBomb is one of them. I use Loom. Our agency uses Loom. I'm sure there's several other tools that you could download and use and have part of your ecosystem. In fact, many of these are offering free subscriptions during COVID-19. So it's a really low-cost probe for you. In fact, it's a no-cost probe. But just to speak an email with kind smile and words and looking into the camera instead of typing it. And a hidden benefit here is you may actually save yourself some time, because how many of us in the business world have spent 2 hours crafting that perfect paragraph, only to have it misread on the other end. So the nonverbals, I think, are so essential. And if you're watching this on YouTube, what you're seeing is us smiling back and forth, talking back and forth. There's something to be said about the interactive element, the human element in communication. So I think it's a beautiful new how, but the same why for the business to business and sales environment. So Jackie, I'd love to hear from you too. Any thoughts that you have? Of course, you shared your engineers example, but any other reflections you have on this?
Well, it's, working with some industries that are a little bit tougher in terms of, as digital marketers, we're like, oh, we'll just work from home for, a couple of months and all as well. I've got a biopharmaceutical client. I have hospital clients, and I have some in the manufacturing space right now. And a lot of these are, the reality of the business is that you can't manufacture plastics or you can't drill for oil remotely. And so it's very much these are hands-on businesses. You can't take care of NICU babies remotely. And so we are looking at a huge struggle from a sales standpoint for folks to be able to get in the door, because obviously all non-essential meetings are cut because they have to maintain manufacturing. They have to maintain standard of care for their patients. And so they're not going to be letting sales reps come in or sales teams come in or, insert whoever. And so there's a lot of opportunity here for companies to build the things that they should have been building years ago during this downtime, and being able to be ready to react. And I think that from a SaaS product standpoint, you can cut costs. You can offer the free usage during this time while people are at home, so they can use your product, and then you can convert them to paying customers. But I think a lot of it too is like, this is not going to last forever. What are you doing right now to when you can go back to face-to-face meetings, or a trade show does open back up maybe in 6 months or whatever it would be? Are you going to be ready for that? And then can you start to move your sales team to utilize digital to enhance your face-to-face? Whereas before, maybe you just weren't willing to do that, or you were going to work on that later and that day never came. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to invest in digital tools, even for those businesses that are going to still have to be mostly face-to-face. And I think that's the exciting thing, is that, again, just as a consumer, the old lady is ordering her groceries for the first time online, which, funny story, the lady next to me at grocery pickup did her order. She just never hit submit. So she showed up at her pickup time, but she had just never hit submit. And they were so gracious to go get her order. But so even the consumer who's doing that to the 50-year-old senior awesome sales rep who has never had to embrace some of these video technology tools because he has had such a good relationship with his clients. Now is the time that you're going to have to be pivoting. And this is the stuff that you can be working on in that short-term strategy that positions you well for that future strategy, because consumer expectations are going to shift, and they're going to continue to shift.
Yeah, talk about, this is more than a fire drill. This is just wise business leadership. For you to have an active and engaging digital sales presence. I love Jackie's thought here. It's only going to help you when things go back to normal. Because we're not talking about replacing your strategy, temporarily maybe, but what we're talking about is adding a rocket fuel to it. So when you can get back to handshakes and hugs, now you've also scaled yourself to bring that same why into the digital space.
I mean, how many times have we heard somebody say, I don't need a good website. I don't get my sales online. And you're thinking, well, I mean, a cart before the horse. I'm not quite sure how that works, but all of a sudden, these things that you didn't think are important. And I think it's important to invest in that.
Yeah. It's like saying I haven't lost weight, so I don't need a gym membership. Or workout routine. I don't work out because I haven't lost weight in like a month, so I don't work out. Wait, what? What's the chicken or egg? Which one comes
works?
First?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Not how it works. Yeah. Well, I tell you, what do you got here, Ben? You got some thoughts?
No, I just would echo everything you guys are saying. I think we're in it. The website comment to me is it makes our eyes roll when we hear people say things like that, but it's so key right now. One of the things that I just wanted to do on my end as a marketing consultant was just give away a bunch of time. And so I had some folks in my network schedule, I call them 48-minute strategy sessions. They come online, they tell me about their business. What are you suffering with? How can I help you pivot right now? That sort of thing. And many of them, they were like, well, I don't really have a website, or I don't really like my website. I'm like, well, okay, we can fix that for you. But just so you know, us fixing this in the next 3 weeks may or may not help you. Like, this was something that should have been done 20 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. But the point is I think we've got, a number of folks forgive me for this comment, but I think have been caught with their pants down. They've been like, oh, well, shoot, this isn't good for business. And, you know, so I had a client, a quick story, who had considered my work for a while, and they came back and they said, we just don't want to use the service for now, but I've since re-engaged with them. And their CFO was very interested in our services and what we could provide. And I told them, I said, can I just be blunt with you? I said, you are a consulting agency that hires, you hire out micro CMOs, CFOs, things like that for your company. I said, the people that are hiring you are my age. And the first thing we do are go to websites. And if you don't have that web presence, you're going to suffer. And so I think that's huge. I'm going on a little too far into that website comment, but that has just been an ongoing issue that I think you can fix now and still make it. But it's just such a priority that people need to put at the top.
Amen. So here's the deal, y'all. Back to Joshua 1. Here's my question for you. You might say, well, Joshua didn't deal with the website. Joshua didn't deal with sales. Okay, well, I got it. Let's translate that. Did Joshua have to put on shoes in order to lead the Israelites across to the promised land? Probably, some version of that. Did Joshua have to take care of him and keep attentive to the food that the Israelites had as they ventured into the promised land? Did Joshua have to keep his eyes out into the horizon to make sure that they were traveling on probably the path of least resistance? Probably. It may not be overtly mentioned in Scripture, but these are some of the fundamental blocking and tackling issues that a leader needs to deal with. That was the why, and that was his how. What we're talking about is your how today. Same thing. You need to keep attentive to the today and the tomorrow. You need to be attentive to what your client really wants. And we're wrestling with this idea of a website. Now, all three of us could probably recite to you the story brand path to creating that. So step one is to clarify your message. If you haven't already, go to mystorybrand.com, get a free account from StoryBrand, and walk through the SB7 framework. There's a proven framework to help you clarify your message. And any of the three of us can help you with that. Step one is to clarify your message. Step two is to take that message to your website. Business Made Simple University is a great toolkit that you can access. It's a subscription. It's part of StoryBrand's ecosystem. Neither Ben nor Jackie nor I get a dime if you sign up for any of these things. This is not about that. This is about tools that can actually help you succeed. Business Made Simple University is a great do-it-yourself guideline for how to execute that clarified message. And inside of that, you're going to want lead generators, PDFs, resources, videos, according to Ben. That's a great idea. In an email sequence that can go to work for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, pumping in qualified leads to knock on your digital front door. And then ultimately, you need to be ready to serve those clients, serve the needs, whether it be business to business, business to consumer. This is your army to lead. They need you. Be strong and courageous. The Lord is with you. Be smart. This is a time not to curl up and say, well, let me just apply for this program and wait for the dust to settle. This is the greatest season of opportunity that your business has ever had. Lean into it with bold courage. So I just kind of send that to you as an encouragement. Hey, Ben, Jackie, I tell you, I bet none of us really woke up today knowing how much fun we would have over the last few moments here. But is there any kind of closing words you'd like to say? And then also in those closing words, I would like to just invite you to share your website and how folks can get a hold of you if they want to have a conversation. So let's start with Jackie, and then we'll go to Ben, and then I'll wrap us up.
Yeah, I think my biggest piece of advice as we wrap this up is to don't be overwhelmed with all the things. The biggest thing that you can do is define, just like Joshua had a vision to take the Israelites to the promised land. He knew what the end result was going to be, what he was going to accomplish. And a lot of times our tactics are full of failure and missteps and learnings and getting better and hiring better people and pivots and growth. But that end vision is so important to define, because your roadmap can ultimately get you there. But if you don't know where you're going, you're just going to end up in the wrong place. So taking the time again right now, if you don't have one, to define that vision, for your company is going to be really important, and it'll help you prioritize all these things that, you think that you should have already had 6 months ago, 5 years ago. It's so important to start with an end vision and then help define those steps to ultimately get you there. But you can find me at branchstrategy.com, and it has been a pleasure. I really enjoy getting and talking about this stuff. I can nerd out on it all day long. But yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. Love to connect with people and learn from different people. You can find me on branchstrategy.com, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys today.
Thanks so much for being with us, Jackie. And Ben, of course, honored to be with you as well. Any closing words?
Yeah. So one of the things that it's a big part of what I love to empower clients, empower people in my network, those who would engage with us is we are an information overload. We've got so much coming at us, especially in this time, people throwing things at us. And while much of it can be helpful, one of the things that I've been very keen on telling my folks is, what are you going to execute on in your business? One of the mantras I think we've all heard from Don Miller as of late is a lot of people are pushing pause, but what are you doing to push play in your business right now? And so in my world, I got the sense a few weeks ago from people in my network, the conversations that I was in, that leaders were looking for a resource, a hub of teaching them how to lead well in difficult times. And what does that look like? And so I am an Enneagram 7. So I threw all these ideas together in my head, put them into play. And my team and I, over the last few weeks, I've just been blown away by the work we've been able to put out. We put together an online summit for people to not just find information, but actually execute on it, and teaching them how to lead well. And it's just been an incredible tool. It's a free resource that we're giving away right now, my team and I at Bigger Story. If you go to leadwellsummit.com, you'll get access to 10 plus hours of video, 24 different interviews that I did with folks from all over the world, teaching them how to lead well, to execute on their business right now. So as we go through this crisis and recession, they're going to be able to do some really great things on the other side. So that's where you can leadwellsummit.com. You can also learn more about my company at biggerstory.com.
Awesome. Ben, Jackie, I can't thank you enough. How much fun was this? I would give this a level 10 out of 10. This was really fun. This was a lot of fun. Thank you both for your investment into the Thrive Collective community. And again, to the listener, the entrepreneur, the small business leader, I'm talking to you. This is your podcast. This is your show. The Thrive Collective exists to help you make more money, avoid costly mistakes, and fully integrate your faith into your life and leadership. And it's been a joy to have you on the show today. Thank you both, Ben and Jackie, and hope to see you again. Are you guys willing to maybe guest on our podcast again in the future? This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. It has
Oh,
been.
I'd love that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll look forward to that. Until then, my friends, we'll see you at the next episode. Everybody, take care.
Take care.
I get lost inside this wonder, 'cause there's so much to discover, new dimensions of your glory, and I've only seen a glimpse. You keep drawing me, you keep drawing me closer to your heart. You keep calling me, you keep calling me closer to your heart. Every facet of your beauty, my heart responds with holy, holy. to do.